You mentioned something at the very beginning. The number one thing that you said was important in that playbook was listening to customers. That's the voice of the customer, right? If we all think we're a customer focused, customer centric, customer first organization, McKinsey, I think in a study said that only 15% of companies actually act on that, actually implement on that, right? So, what does listening to the customer mean to you? And how does it impact this living playbook that you're talking about?
I love those metrics because it seems like a basic thing, right? We've been talking about the customer centric, listening to the customer for such a long time, and it seems like a no brainer. But as you said, the actual amount of companies who actually do that, it's crazy. I worked for companies or mentored companies that they did not want to listen to the customers' feedback or advice because they thought they knew what was best for the product roadmap because they are building the product, they are in this industry, they know it better. And 10 out of 10, that fails. And I think the biggest, and I'm going to try to bring the CRO, the growth side of the equation to listening to the customer, because I think this is something that every single team of the company should be doing, from finance to CX to sales to growth to product, of course. But I feel like the growth team has a big responsibility on making that happen. And the main reason why I say that is because the growth team, marketing, sales, and customer experience, they are in the market every single day. They go out of the company virtually or in person, and they go meet a customer, a partner, a prospect. And they come back with information that sometimes your product marketing team is paying a research agency 50K to come up with the same answer that you did on a customer call. But the growth team, especially the sales team, is not trained to share that information internally properly. They are trained to fill out the CRM, to close deals. And something that I've been trying to do ever since that clicked for me is try to turn the sales team or the growth team in general into a knowledge sharing or a feedback sharing machine for the rest of the company, and building processes and rituals that slowly it's ingrained in their way of working that, look, I listened to an important information that one of our competitors is adding this new feature that no one knew about. I just don't want to use that to close the deal, but also how me as a salesperson can share that information with the wider company. It's a challenge, but I think this is one of the ways that we found out how to try to bring that voice of the customer, the voice of the market more into awareness.
So, if I could recap, I think three really important points from that is when you talk about voice of the customer, you're not talking about another survey, right? You're not talking about just like usage data and things like that. You're talking about actually physical conversations that are taking place from across the growth team. That was one thing that really stood out. The second one was that knowledge can't be just internal and siloed because everybody's learning something different, right? But valuable, but it can't just stay in the individual minds of everyone who collected that data. And third, that was what we talked about earlier, have to be able to execute on that shared knowledge base, right? Now, that's where it gets really tricky.
It's hard.
And I know it's what you guys do as a company, it's what you're passionate about. How do we do that? How do we execute on that? How do we gain that shared knowledge, the conversations? How do we share it internally and execute on it? I think is a bigger thing.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. And my usual answer to those, how we do it when it's a hard thing to do, especially when it involves a lot of people, it is a boring answer. But to be honest, most of the right answers in life are boring. We just don't like it to be that way. But I believe that rituals and processes go a long way if they're done properly. And again, boring, but I think this is how we can try to overcome that specific challenge and many others in the company.